Welcome back to M Hood Fishing, everybody. This right here is a ballast stone. Nice close-up look before I clean it. Actually, I found this in the garbage. Someone was throwing it away. I was on my way to do a session. Almost looks like a bean, huh? You can't tell because it's dirty right now, but it is a granite style ballast stone. A ballast stone is not a type of actual stone, meaning that many types of stones were used as ballast stones. They were used as weight inside the ballast of ships. Mostly wooden ships, but not exclusively wooden ships, but mostly wooden ships. Started a long time ago, but for this country, America, it would be the 18th and 19th century when they started showing up here the most. They may have showed up earlier, but that would have been on the East Coast where the first settlements were. However, this is Southeast Louisiana, and it would be the 1700s, 1800s, up till maybe turn of the century, when you go from the 19th century into the 20th century, which would be, you know, late 1800s, early 1900s. Well, let's get it cleaned. This one is quite heavy, and it should be. Ballast stones can come in all shapes, sizes, and weights. This particular one, here's the question: where did they come from? This particular one I know is a beach stone. Some people may say it looks like a river stone because it's got rounded edges, right? It looks like a bean. But they didn't usually use river stones. More commonly they were using beach stones. And even though ballast stones can come from anywhere in the world, there are three likely places where a lot of them came from, and that would be the British Isles, Belgium, and Spain. However, instead of saying Belgium, you could say Northern Europe, because Belgium is just a part of Northern Europe, right? Netherlands, and then you have the Baltic states. So when you go all across Northern Europe, along the English Channel and into the Baltic Sea, going across the coast from France up to the Baltic states, all along there, a lot of the coastline has stones like this, beach stones like this, from northern France up through the Netherlands, Belgium, all the way up through the Baltics to Estonia. You have stones like this. No pun intended when I said Estonia. We're just going to get it wet to start, and rub it. So the reason why it's really dirty is because it was likely in the ground. See, rocks and stones, they don't naturally occur south of Lake Pontchartrain. They don't. This is just mud. We're living on a lump of mud down here. There's no natural rocks. They don't naturally occur. So we're going to get some soap. It's just Dawn. See, good for the duck, good for the stone. Put some on this soft brush. I'm going to turn the water off. I'm going to start scrubbing at it. You can see it's got dirt. So these randomly show up when you get a house down here that's already been there for a while. You go out in the backyard, you might find one of these randomly there. If it's an older garden, flower beds, these would randomly show up. People would get these because they were loading them off the ships. They didn't need so much. You know, these were coming and going throughout the port of New Orleans. That's why they're here, because this area was a huge port. The biggest one at the time and for the longest was New Orleans, but then other ports developed, and there were smaller ones too up and down the river. I live along the Mississippi River. Likely why this is here, because we're in a port area. but it's been here for who knows how long. A long time. We don't know the individual story of this stone, but we know the broader one of stones in general, ballast stones. So people would put these in their garden. It wasn't cheap to buy stones for your garden, but there were stones just being brought here from other parts of the world. This is likely from Northern Europe. Could be from the Baltics, could be from Belgium, could be from Guernsey. That's one of the British Isles. In the Channel, in the English Channel, as you're going to towards France, Jersey and Guernsey, they're closer to France than they are to England, the UK, Britain. One of the interesting things about this particular style of ballast stone, being that it's granite, right? A lot of people these days like to get a hold of these and break them open, because apparently you can find fossils inside them, right? For a lot of people at first glance, there's nothing special here. It's just a stone to them, right? And then you start telling the story of how this stone became to be in southeast Louisiana and the history that it's a part of. And then it becomes a much more interesting stone. And then you tell them there could be fossils inside that ordinary looking stone, and then it becomes a much even more interesting stone. What is this bit here? You see that right there? Let me put this down and we can pick this up. This may be 10-pound stone here. It almost looks like rust, some kind of stain there. I wonder if I'll be able to get it out. It doesn't really matter. We just wanted to get some of that dirt off. And you might put it over there and show it to you wet, and then give some time, let some time go by and let it dry and see what it looks like then. But I think we might want to, yeah, look, there's a lot of that kind of rusty kind of staining going on here. This may have been sitting with metal for a long time. It does look better just now that I have it kind of clean. Let's continue here and I'll show you what's up. Wow, that is looking good. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get those rusty looking stains out of there. They might be a part of the rock itself. There might be something in this rock running through it that causes that. So I don't know if it's that, like there's metal in the rock, or if it's just something on the surface. I think it might be on the surface, because as I scratch at it, it comes off. The rusty stuff is on the surface. See, watch this. Lightly hit it with a wire brush, and a lot of it comes off. So this rock was in contact with something, probably in the soil, with metal junk. When I first came to New Orleans in early 2000s, before Katrina, I would do jobs here and there doing construction, and then I worked at Vertimart for the longest, and I got sick of Vertimart, and then I started doing construction full-time, but it was mostly on old houses, right? Very old houses. And I learned a lot, and I got good at it, and I was specializing in stuff, mostly removing historical items without destroying them. Like technical demo is what I specialized in, plus other things such as painting and drywall, bedding and taping. A lot of times I had to crawl up under houses when I was doing handyman jobs or shoring a house. And I would find these stones up underneath the house, right? And many times I had to do like landscaping projects around these old houses, cleaning up, possibly, let's say, reviving a French drain, a French gutter, French drain between the houses, right? It'd be full of soil, and underneath all this soil and garbage was a French drain. Stones and all were there, right? Bricks. And you had to expose it, and all throughout the soil would be all kinds of debris, from pottery to toys to marbles, broken glass, pieces of metal. A lot of times in these bigger backyards of these properties, at one time there was another building, right? And it got tore down or it burned down, and then it was the backyard of the bigger house. And there'd be all kinds of garbage in the soil, but you'd be digging in the soil for one reason or another, find these rocks, and yes, metal. And so something metal was in the soil around this rock forever, and the rust got into the rock. As you can see, this granite rock, it is semi-porous, so it could soak up something like that. Maybe there was some old mesh or something. Well, let's continue cleaning it up and then set it back on the tablecloth. So there you go. Not dry, but let's let it dry. Through my research, I have found that this is a very good example of an early style, early type of ballast stone. In the early days, this is what they used, these beach stones. As time went on, 1800s, late 1800s, when there were way more ships coming across, going from Europe and other places to the Caribbean and North America, all over, there was a lot more by the 1800s, a lot more shipping, right? They were using not just these, because not everybody could get a hold of these. They were using all kinds of stones that had sharp edges, which at first they didn't. They used these with the rounded, perfectly rounded beach stones, and then they were using metal. And when you get to the turn of the century, when you go from the 1800s to the 19th, from the 19th century into the 20th century, technology improves, and which pumping technology is what I'm talking about mainly. And they start using water, and then throughout, after the turn of the century, eventually more and more people were using water to weigh the ballast down rather than stones, because it was much more convenient to use water. With the stones, you had to, through manpower, load and unload everywhere you went. But with pumping, using water, you could dump the water or take in the water as needed at sea. You could use brackish, fresh water, salt water. So yeah, they're out of favor, but they're just like randomly left in places where they don't belong in the world, waiting for someone like me to tell the story. However, there's a lot more to this story than so far, right? We've got more to tell, because we're adding to this particular stone story. It's a lucky stone. Yeah, you're right. So, just like the title of the video says, I am actually trading this particular ballast stone for a rod. In particular, a deep drop rod. Yeah, you're right. Do you see it behind me? In all those rods? You see it yet? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So, I'm not sure how much of the trade, if it's the full trade, because we haven't got that far. Now, I'm doing this trade with Ray from Rig PFA, and I told him, he said, hey, do you want this rod? Here's the price. I accidentally got two, I only need one. And he said, I'm into a trade. We could do a trade if you want. And I said, I have a ballast stone, and I didn't think he was gonna go for it, but he knew what it was. He's like, oh, is it the type that has fossils in it? And I researched it. The answer is yes, it is. It is the granite style. That's a beach stone, Yes, that is the kind of ballast stone that highly likely to have fossils inside it. Really don't like the idea of this ballast stone getting destroyed, but it's not my call once it's not my stone anymore, right? And the other reason why Ray is interested in this stone, it would make a great, you know, a great stone for the pond. He's looking for cool stones to put around his pond. He's got a pond, a small pond. But so he has two interests, right? So I don't know if it's going to be the full trade or just a partial trade, but it is a part of the trade for this rod. Let's look at the rod, because I already have it. If you saw it right here, you are correct. It is a 7-foot heavy action ugly stick onesie. It's a conventional. It's for a conventional reel. Bait caster. Look at that. Heavy duty. It's a 7-foot onesie, like I said. Very strong rod. Just something I want to show you right down there. Pop this off real quick. And look at that. So, if you're going to wear the belt, the rod is ready for you. If you're not going to wear the belt, the rod just waits for you, and you can fish it how you want. So some people may be like, that's not a deep drop rod. The intention of this rod is to fish something deep for something big. But yes, if you wanted to fish shallow, if you wanted to call this a shallow drop rod, I don't know, you call it whatever you want. It's the rod that is part of the trade, and I've got a reel for it already. The main intention, the reason why I have an interest, why I want this rod, why I have this rod, is so I can fish a live bait and like really big jigs deep for really big things. Yeah, you're right. Either off a pier, a bridge, or a boat, or a kayak, because it is a 7-foot rod. Like blackfin tuna, snook, like bigger things, much bigger things, and that's what I'm intending to do. Let's put the reel. Let's show you the reel and put it on here. Flash real quick. There you go. You saw it. I'm just kidding. Let me show it to you. This is a pin reel. It's a conventional reel. United graphite frame, 2 ball bearings. This was a gift from Ray. Well, actually, first it was a gift, and then I kindly gave Ray 3 crab nets that I no longer wanted. I didn't like them, but he happened to like that style, even though I didn't like that style myself. It was a style that he liked, so he was happy. I'm happy. I think he has 80-pound braid on here. I'm taking that off. That's old stuff. So yeah, I've got to refurb. There's nothing wrong with this, and when I say I got to refurb this, I'm just talking about putting line on it and checking it out, making sure it's all good. But just for prosperity, let's stick it on the rod so we can see how this combo looks. Almost there. And there we go. Here's my new rod. Yeah, you're right. So this is actually brand new. So you might be wondering, what is the cash value here? The cash value has been set. So when I say the cash value, it's not necessarily the market price of this rod. It's just the cash value set within this trade, and that is $60. So there you go. Looking forward to using this. It is so toasty warm in this house. This rock, this ballast stone, has dried a lot. Look at that. The bottom's still wet. Let's flip it over. Give it a little more time. I might take the dogs out, and it may be even more dry by then. I got a lot of these rust stains out of there. It was laying up against metal or in the soil, and there was metal, and the rust just kind of went in. It's not as bad now, but I think it's gonna be a while before it comes out. Here we go. Check it out. I'm gonna roll it over. It is fully dry. That is awesome looking. Yeah, you're right. When a stone is more than just a stone. Yeah, you're right. I bet Ray is gonna love this one. Yeah, you're right. Trading a ballast stone for a deep drop rod. Yeah, you're right. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun watching the video, and I appreciate you watching the video. I appreciate you liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, being a member of the channel, and I will see you next time.